snackablementalhealth.ca. We are on, and we're back officially for 2025. I know it's been a while, but here we are with a gentleman that has been that I've been friends with, and who's making his rounds. He's one of the busiest men that I know, one of the busiest people that I know. And I just wanted to have him on to talk about how he does it. How he does his life. We've been friends for more than 15 years. We're going to chat with him about his nearly pro baseball career. We're going to chat with him about his history with a nuclear response emergency team, which is an amazing kind of like thing to even know somebody that's involved in that. We're going to talk about he's going to plug his real estate business called the NoCo Collective, and we're going to talk about a youth services worker for mental health in the area. His name is Sean Graham, and welcome, Sean. We met more than 15 years ago now, and how's your mental health?
Well, first off, Brandon, thanks for having me on the show. It's nice to be back to 89.7. I've spent a few years here at the station, and it's nice to get back and see you thriving in this role. How is my mental health? Well, I'm sure, like everyone's, it's a work in progress. I think with mental health these days, it's helpful to be having these discussions, and I've always kind of used the analogy of having a tool belt when dealing with your mental health.
A Batman utility belt.
Kind of, yeah. That is very cool, where I could just grab a piece and say, okay, boom, counselor.
Yes.
Boom, deep breathing.
Yes.
Yeah, moving around.
Well, when I first, that's a good, your tool belt. I noticed that when I first met you, when I first went to one of your apartments in the downtown core of Coburg, this gentleman had every single little tiny piece of education that he's ever received. I'm talking like things like SmartServe, the little stuff, mental health, any type of certificate. Of course, college, university, all that stuff was involved, but even the little ones. And I was like, you know what? This guy pays attention to his own stuff. And I'm like, all the little stuff, they count too, in a big way. You meet people along the way. How delicate and how amazing our education is when we're like, you know what? I'm going to frame that and put it up in my office because that's a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's one of the cool things I noticed about Sean Graham when we first met was his office when he was, 25.
Wow.
Yeah,
maybe less
25.
Than that.
Yeah. And one of the first cool things I found about you, which we bonded on instantly, was the love of Matt Good. Remember that?
We did. Yeah. We shared some love for Canadian musician Matt Good.
Yeah.
And Matt's had his own. He's got his own story. That's one of the reasons I cling to him as a musician. Is Matt's got his own mental health story as well, as we all do. So, and your mental health is thriving.
Yeah, I would say thriving,
I never
but
see
it's a
you
work.
angry. I never see you down. So that's. Yeah.
Again, it's you got to work on it. I think like everyone, there's concerns going on, with economics, crime, and I have a busy portfolio, as you know. So I do prioritize when I need to my mental health focus. With
you make time for
breathing. Yeah, you have to, or else I think it just doesn't make you your best self if you don't prioritize your mental health.
That's a good one. Prioritizing the mental health, and that's a perfect answer to how is your mental health.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's start this.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into some things that I don't know about you.
Yeah.
We have talked pro baseball.
Yep.
You did get a scholarship.
Yes.
And you played ball in the States.
I did.
Karen loves to hear this. She wants to hear your baseball story.
Yeah, I want to hear it all.
Yeah. So, the first love of my life was baseball. And as a kid that kind of grew up, in a tough situation and not a lot of opportunity, one of the things that I really clung to was baseball at a very young age.
That was your vent.
That was my vent. It was actually probably the sole reason why I later on went on to have success with my career was baseball. From everything from teamwork to discipline, to just staying out of trouble. In a small town, when you don't have a lot of outlets.
You avoided the couch and the drug scene and all that, and took to baseball.
Yeah, that's what kind of saved me. But yeah, it was just a kind of progressive journey in baseball. Started very basic, and then moved up into playing rep for the town of Port Hope, which would kind of take you all over the province. I think the league we were in was anywhere from Kingston to Pickering, and then beyond for tournaments. And then from rep baseball, I went into a program called the Eastern Ontario Baseball Association. So that was a dedicated team of players from Kingston to Pickering that they would select out of that region, and then we would go play other regions across the province. So definitely got some pretty good basebol out of that, and a lot of great memories, a lot of fun. So that was kind of the cool. That was kind of the.
So from Eastern Ontario baseball, you got where did you get the scholarship to?
I went to a school called Jefferson College in Watertown, New York.
Okay, so not even that far away, really.
Just across the border
from Alexandria Bay or whatever it is. Is that the closest?
Yeah, I think it was
Ogdensburg or something like that.
Yeah, so we would go through the Thousand Islands route and cross over, and I played there for a year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nearly pro. You know these guys. There's so many nearly pro. If you've navigated yourself around the sports thing, there's a couple of guys from Coburg, mostly hockey guys.
Yep.
Who are both pro. Now we've got Clinton Cebulski, who I interviewed here. He was also a pro, but in like Indonesia or whatever. That was like that kind of. He's still getting paid to play basketball.
Okay. And he's a local? He's from around here?
No, he's from Kitchener, but he resides in Coburg now. So
interesting.
He was one of my first interviews. Clinton Cebulski.
He runs programs.
He runs Point Guard College, which is a camp for kids.
Very cool.
We could do this for the whole time, but I only have you for a snackable moment. So let's talk about the nuclear response team.
Yeah. So I've been with Ontario Power in the nuclear security division for 16 years. And I went to it's called the NSRT, so the Nuclear Security Response Team, I think 10 years ago. So I've been with them for 10 years. It's I like the work. It comes with a lot of responsibility, but it's anytime you get paid to stay in shape and shoot guns and drive light armored vehicles, it's a good.
I've often called it, and I don't know what. Like I hope I'm right about it. Is you guys are always preparing for the battle that'll never come.
That's hope, yes, that's right. I mean, there's no mistakes there, right? It's not a oh dang, we should have done this differently. It's you got one shot at it.
If it
goes
down,
you got to be ready to go.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So nuclear, was it what NSRT?
Yeah, the Nuclear Site Response Team.
Nice. Yeah. You want to get into NOCO Collective for a little while?
Yeah. So, as much as I love, guns and training, it doesn't leave a lot of room for creativity. And as you know, my wife, she became a real estate agent about 6 years ago on the side from her job. So when we met, it's actually kind of how we met was she works where I work as a firefighter. And I heard she got her license, so we started chit-chatting about that, and next thing led to, I think 7 years, 2 kids.
Wow. Local power couple, Katie Asselin and Sean Graham.
Yeah. So I got my real estate license about a year and a half ago, and it's just really an outlet for creativity. And just helping people with one of the biggest decisions financially of their life. And as you know, I build my life on certain pillars, and one of them is honesty, and another one is transparency. And I'm not going to throw people under the bus, but sometimes in these businesses, people are really just earning to make a buck. And really getting into this wasn't about that for us. It was about, seeing some stuff I didn't really like going on in the market and saying, you know what, I can do this and I'm going to do it as ethically as, right. Yeah. And it's just really not about the dollar.
That's one thing I would say that is probably one of your superpowers is integrity is on a very high plane.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You've always got a smile. You sort the dirt from the sugar. You're very good at figuring out people. That is something I admire about how you live your life, is totally with integrity and with truth and with honesty, for sure. Psychiatric. Oh, sorry.
Youth.
Let's do it again. But this is the one I wanted to save to talk about.
Yeah.
Because this is what I want to do with Snackable Mental Health. We're quite a few episodes in now, is to make sure that the listener knows that everybody I have on here has a purpose, not just under the mental health standpoint, but if they're in the arts or if they're a professional or if they're a friend of mine. And I want to make sure there's at least something that hits the entire board of mental health. And arts, you can kind of, musicians are like, oh my God, they're poets with an even better thing. They can play an instrument, or a professional like a chiropractor. What I want to know is, how do you guys do it every day? Mm-hmm. So with your jobs and the youth support worker.
Yeah. Youth services worker. Yeah. You're almost there.
How do you do it?
Yeah.
How do you do it every day?
Yeah. So first off,
started with as a youth support worker.
Yeah. It was actually right out of school. Honestly, it was
Durham.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were
Durham College. Of the GTA, Oshawa.
Yeah. When I came back to Canada, that's where I went, and they actually had there was a job fair, and there was a bunch of booths, and the career I was going into was law enforcement ish. So there was OPP, the Ministry of Transportation, and then this group for a youth services worker. And I thought, that's pretty cool. So I went over and chit-chatted and learned about the program. And essentially it was a facility that helped youth from 12 to 18 that were in the facility for generally the criminal justice system.
They were in the system.
They were in the system, right? And so I put my application in, and shockingly, at the time, got a call for an interview, and fortunately got in. And it really was really probably one of the best things I could have done for a base for my foundation on my career. And how people in that industry do it, I really don't know. It
every
is,
day
it
without completely burning yourself out.
It will burn you out. And I was burnt out. I did it for 4 years, and it changes your personality a little bit. Because
seeing it every day.
Every day, yeah. And it's really not as much as you would like it to be a positive environment. It just really isn't. It's a lot of there's a lot of you have to be sharp, and you got to be on top of your game, and be a listening friend, and disciplinarian at times. But the whole basis of the program, frankly speaking, was around mental health. At the end of the day, these were youth that committed some pretty bad crimes, and they, going to jail isn't really the best solution in my humble opinion, but they have, somebody has to take a look at why. And from my experience, a lot of these youth came from pretty broken homes, and at the root of it, outside of whatever they did, I think it came down to mental health, and a lot of these kids never had someone to talk to, and they never had a psychologist.
Fell through the cracks.
It fell through the cracks. Now, at the end of the day, they did offend and hurt somebody. So, it was a real balancing act with where your empathy lied. But mine was, if you're in it, let's try to fix the problem and help these, it was all young men, hopefully come out of the facility and be better people and have a role model that, I think most of those kids didn't really have before they came in. So yeah,
somebody with both feet on the ground that can maybe guide them a little bit, that may not, that's an amazing responsibility actually, and to be able to handle that job with integrity.
Yeah.
And that being your first job outside of school.
Yeah.
Looks really good on a resume, but it also is something that is transformative to your early adulthood, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And you nailed it actually right there. And it, I think I was 20, 21 when I got hired there, and just really a kid myself, but it taught a lot of different things outside of trying to help these people. It really made you appreciate the people that do the work to help people. Really made me appreciate, how fortunate I think, even though I came from a pretty difficult upbringing, poverty is a real significant issue. And a lot of these kids came from pretty impoverished spots. So it made me appreciate, my own life a little bit with being able to say, wow, like there's people that are here that come from pretty bad situations. So it does force you to grow up a little bit faster, and in a good way. It makes you kind of be a little bit more responsible and appreciative and grateful. Wow. And all those things.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So now what's it like being you're not even 40.
Yeah.
You've got 2 young children.
Yes. Yeah.
What's that? What's fatherhood like?
Yeah. Well, and I don't shy away from it. For a long time, I didn't want kids. I was anti-kidder.
Okay.
And came to having kids later in life. And now that we're here, I think, man, I was foolish. Cause I love being a dad. I'm very lucky that I have a wife that is very, takes a lead on it, because it's not necessarily something that I'm a gun carrying business guy. So having the loving and supportive side of my wife to do it is good. But I love being, they're great kids, and it's been a lot of fun.
So what's that like then? As one of the busiest professionals that I know, what's that like? I mean, you have time for your CrossFit. Do you sleep?
Not as much as I would like, but yes, I do get some sleep in. Yeah.
Because like with 2 young kids, you're getting 3 hours a night, or?
Well, so my wife and I brokered a pretty good deal. So she took the extended mat leave, the 18 months.
Okay.
I'm working, which is fine. So I'm luckily, I guess, maybe not luckily, who knows, I'm sleeping in the spare room where it's nice and quiet. So nice. I'm getting my sleep while my wife, she's off work right now. So we'll see how that switches once she goes back, and
Incredible.
I'm throwing back into it.
So yeah, this has been an adventure. Anything else we want to, Karen, do you have any questions for Sean? I mean, I know you love the baseball conversation.
I'm more enamored by his first job.
Thank you.
I think that it's not a secret. I was in the system all of my life, and there weren't people that cared. And when you go through things like that, mental health is a huge issue for kids. And kids shouldn't have those issues. But we look at a system that is so complicated and so overrun, and you get lost in the system. So to know that you were 21 and you gave a damn is incredible. So I'm glad for the kids that you worked with then. And I think they're the lucky ones. And I wish there had been more people back in the 70s, when I was in care. I was in care from the 70s till 88, 87, So other than the baseball, which is something that would excite my husband,
The thing you cared about most.
The thing
was-
that I cared about most is that you cared, and at such a young age. And then you fast forward to you having 2 children with an incredible wife, means those kids are going to be raised properly. And, they're going to appreciate things. And it all comes from the roots, and so that just about made me cry. I think that's absolutely incredible. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't think you get to meet very many Sean Grahams in your path on this planet.
Being too kind, guys. Yeah.
So I do, you're not an actor, you're not a musician, but you're doing the utmost to be you're not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but you're doing the utmost to be the best version of yourself. Is what I see.
Yeah.
Since I met you, I was like, this guy is a player, and by player I mean he plays the game of life very well, and he's very generous, very knowledgeable, always has been, kind of a student of life, which leads me to the second question that we're going to start to organize these interviews on is...
That was all only one question.
I know. Okay, got it. It's going to be a long podcast, eh?
Yeah. Is, Sean, what's your favorite thing about life?
You know what? It's pretty simple. My favorite thing about life is life. Just the fact that I get to wake up every day.
It's that Edwin song, isn't it?
Yeah,
which
song. I love.
Yeah.
I do love that song. But yeah, it's
Edwin,
alive.
former,
yeah,
I feel so alive.
yes,
it's alive. Yeah.
yeah, and it's really simple. I mean, I think when you wake up and you are appreciative to be awake every day, that
Count
you're
your
happy,
blessings.
healthy, got good friends like Karen and Brandon. Life in itself is a joy, and that's really probably the biggest joy in my life is just having a positive life. Really, yeah.
All right. He's going to come back. We're going to have more stories of maybe hitting home runs or getting caught stealing or...
Yeah. Been there.
And, constantly working on my interviewing chops.
Yep.
And it's been a fun ride. I believe you're the sixth interview. Karen gets her throwdowns.
Yeah.
I get my car bites in every now and then. Keep listening to Snackable Mental Health. Maybe hit up snackablementalhealth.ca for the blog, some merch. And maybe hit up Spotify as well. Keep hitting Spotify up for Snackable Mental Health as well. We are finished with Sean Graham, and thank you so much to Karen and Sean Graham for being here. Brandon Hahn, Snackable Mental Health.
They made it? Yeah.
Snackable Mental Health outtakes. We're just going to keep on recording here just because something cool might get said that I want to kind of document. So, yeah, keep going.
No, I think that's so cool. And you made a comment in your spiel where you said you had to be like constantly on the lookout.
Yeah.
Those kids can be
Tricky.
We could be so tricky.
So
You know?
totally hardens you, 100%. Yeah,
It makes you care even more, really, I think.
Well, so it hardens you. So I remember one of the reasons why I had to get out was near the end, over a Christmas break, I went out to see my family, and my mom had actually said to me, you're changing. You're changing, right? And it was a little bit of
My mom said that.
My mom said that over
Wow.
Christmas. So it was a little bit of
Was it? She didn't mean in a good way.
yeah, I was just kind of getting more
Icy.
That's
Yeah.
a great word, icy. And there was one client that I had where I had a lot of empathy for him, so it was actually affecting me, thinking about when I go home for Christmas and they're in a facility, right? So you started feeling guilty in a weird way. But then there was the other youth that were in there that were just, frankly, they just weren't nice people, right? They were, they you know, you would read
Yeah,
a file
and then you come
it'd be real
across
terrible.
a good one, and
It was really a bit of a like so where the change was happening was like I was, I guess, slightly depressed because of so versus like it honestly, there was a part of me that starts to feel like a bit of a jail guard, right? And a jail guard's not a job that, I mean, right? You don't want to, I appreciate what they do, but they develop that mentality. So yeah, I remember like my team started to all move along in different careers, and then I just thought, okay, like when your mom says you're changing, it's
time to change.
Time to look
the other way.
To look, move along. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, a long time ago. It was nice to talk about it because I don't.
And to think
put
that
it on the table.
They're there, or they're doing what they do because of trauma.
Yeah.
And to break through trauma, I'm 55. I just don't deal with it anymore. I'm like, it doesn't make who I am. But there's people who, it is who they are.
That's their...
Yeah, that's their thing.
I think I have a pretty interesting view on trauma itself. From working with the elderly and from having a grandmother with severe Alzheimer's. Trauma is sometimes a great way to focus on memories. Because a lot of people only carry their trauma with them into their twilight.
Right.
But if you can somehow snag a glimmer of light into that trauma,
right,
like, oh, this happened to me 70 years ago, and I'm still hanging on to that. Is there anything at all, a glimmer of light in there, in that time that happened? Do you remember playing marbles with the kid down the street? Or do you remember what hide and go seek or tag was like? Or as opposed to that situation that you've pulled with you for your entire life? Is there something positive that you can glean from the traumatic episode that happened that changed your life into being a victim? Is there something in there somehow that we can pull out of there? Something cool that I think there's a reason we hang on to that trauma. And one of the reasons I think is because some cool stuff might have happened that we're neglecting to realize that in our youth, it's not just trauma. It's some really cool stuff too. Like there's that.
I think it would depend on how that person viewed their trauma. So you and I both know of somebody in the old age forum who didn't deal with their trauma well. So I don't think she would ever find...
Could even...
No.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
though?
I do. Because as you're saying it, I'm going back and I'm thinking...
Where was there something else in that memory, in that... What's the word I'm looking for? Is there something else in that memory that you've been pulling with you for your entire life that can maybe make it a little easier to deal with? Like that, for instance, that, I don't know, that Christmas Eve or something like that, you learned what candy canes tasted like or something, or that you do indeed like maple syrup on your spaghetti.
Which I don't.
Yeah.
Have you tried that, Karen?
No, okay. And I'm a native woman,
yeah.
and I can't stand maple syrup.
That's interesting.
Funny.
Okay.
I can't stand it. I just tried it this Christmas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do people eat this?
Yeah.
It's not something, I think it's a big joke about being Canadian, actually, is that we all like maple syrup.
It's
poutines.
Poutine, maple syrup, ketchup, chips.
Well, have you put maple syrup on your...
Never.
Okay, all right.
That's from Elf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. You push the limits, so
but my
sometimes I
kids
don't
have
know.
tried that.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah.
you know, they're like, oh, because Elf was their favorite movie. So, which means my grandchildren have all tried it.
Yeah.
And it's...
Spaghetti, maple syrup and spaghetti.
Yes.
Okay.
With
So
candy
that is
corn.
an actual thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Candy
heinous,
corn.
but
So I just decided to flick on the recording just to see if we can get anything cool, and we have. But okay, so very happy that you came on the show.
Yeah. Listen, I
quick
I
and-
love you, buddy. So
Quick
it's
and
like,
painless.
yeah, I come up and luckily I used to be on the board of directors
Yeah, that's
here.
it.
Oh my.
He got
This
me
place.
the job as morning show DJ.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so if I wasn't familiar already, it might have been a little bit more, a little bit more. But yeah, I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad you're in the space. And
Yeah, I'm doing.
it's nice to be up here, and I have a big heart for this place for 89.7.
Where are you? Where do you live?
I live here in Coburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just down the road, actually, super close.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's
So
a great
cool.
spot.
Snackable Mental Health. That's it.